Hi, this is Dave from the Metal Review. I'm here with Ryan from SOiL. Welcome back to the UK, man.
That's good to be here.
Yeah.
Enjoying all my little favorite aspects of the UK. I'm a foodie, so I'm getting all that in.
It's all about the kebab.
It is. I haven't had a chicken one yet. I had the doner, so I'm doing well.
So try the doner, chicken next.
Yep.
What's after that, fish and chips or?
I'd leave the fish and chips up to Adam. That guy's a fish and chips monster. I think he would freak out if he was like over here for one day and didn't get it for at least one meal.
Wow.
Yeah, and he puts so much vinegar on it, he sweats. It's an amazing thing. You don't want to be anywhere near him when he's eating. I mean, you actually, if he's eating it walking down the street, you go to the other side of the street and walk. Because it just, he stinks.
So going through the history of the band, I know that Tim and Adam formed the band back in the day after they were in a band called Oppressor.
Right.
Pretty brutal sort of death metal. I had to listen to them on Spotify, and I have to say it was sort of reminding me of a bit of a bitchery in places. I think from was it Tim was doing vocals and
right. He was playing bass and vocals both.
Yeah. So then, not long after that band was, I think they disbanded in '90. So how soon after the band had finished, or you joined?
I was an original member. I'm the original singer. I'm not sure how long they were putting it together before I came aboard, but I was the guy that they got a hold of for vocals, and it just kind of worked out.
Did your name just drop in the conversation, or they knew of you from previous?
They found me on a compilation of unsigned bands. I was in a couple different bands at the time in Indiana, where I was from, and there was I want to say the compilation was called like Wild Rags or something like that, and it was just a compilation CD of unsigned bands, and Tim either knew the person that ran the thing, or he subscribed to it or something. And he got the CD in the mail, and it was all death metal bands except for the band that I was in. So he was like listening through it and just kind of like next, and the last song on it was the band that I was playing at the time, a band called DEM, and it was just a heavy band, not death metal at all.
Yeah.
And heard the voice, and he saw I was from Indiana, so he thought, well, that's right next door, not knowing that I was actually on the Ohio side of Indiana. So it was about 5 hours away, but I made that commute every weekend once we started jamming, and I was playing in two bands back home in Indiana on the weekdays and SOiL on the weekends, so it was full plate for a while.
Pretty intense.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity, though. I mean, I came from a small town in Indiana, about 3,000 people, so I mean, the only way Geffen was going to hear about you is if David Geffen's airplane crashed on Main Street or something. You know, there was not many doors to be opened in Dunkirk, Indiana. So it was a great opportunity to get to a larger market, and which was a great market at the time. You had Disturbed and so many bands there, 5.0 and From Zero, and so many bands that worked great together. I mean, they made that scene what it was. So it was a great scene to fall into.
Yeah. So you did 2 EPs, and then you also did the Throttle Junkies record.
Yes.
Which came out, and then went away, did another record, and that was when Halo started getting a load of commercial radio play, and that kind of exploded. What was that like when you'd done 2 sort of EPs, you'd done an album, and it was still kind of stagnant, and then suddenly this popularity explosion just happened?
The first CD known as the first EP, that we call it the Worm Disc, because it didn't have a title, it just had a picture of a worm on the cover. That was actually our first demo.
Oh.
We did that. I came to Chicago and we rehearsed for the first time, and then the following weekend when I drove in, we jumped in the studio and recorded these songs, and that's what ended up being the first EP. We did both of those EPs. We did the full-length Throttle Junkies, and the record label, MIA, very appropriately named, went out of business about a month after the release of that record. And so at that point in time, I mean, we were damaged goods. We had a full-length record that didn't do anything. You know, it doesn't say next to your album sales, it doesn't say label went out of business 30 days after the album was released. And so, you know, nobody really knew that about it. They just saw what the album did.
Yeah.
And so we were, in the eyes of a lot of the industry, we were damaged goods. You know, we had a shot and we didn't succeed. We did a couple more demos, and we weren't getting many bites on it. And we were actually getting ready. We were talking about doing one more demo, and me and one of the guys in the original lineup really got into it one night, and I just had it. And I was packing my truck up, getting ready to leave, and Adam actually is the one that talked me into sticking around and doing one more demo. And that demo is the one that we did with Johnny K.
Yeah.
And it's the demo that had My Own and Need to Feel and us and Halo on it. And we ended up getting a bite from a gentleman from a record label, larger record label, but he was new in the label. didn't have the clout to really sign us on his own, say. So he ended up working with a radio station in Orlando, Florida, to spin our song twice a day for a week, and then they'd pull it, and that would hopefully they'd get enough phones on it that he would have proof to go into his bosses and say, we need to sign this band. And it really blew up. It ended up being, that was a very influential station there in Orlando, and it ended up being the number one most, Halo is the song they went with, and it ended up being the number one most requested song across the board on that station, and within that week. And we had a 30-day right of first refusal with that label, and we waited our 30 days out, and next thing you know, we're sitting in a garage in Chicago, Illinois, and we've got label people flying in and sitting in this little, and it was a little half garage is what we practiced in, and we had, you know, the who's who of A&R from all these different labels, like 3 inches away from our faces, you know, rehearsing each night, and just, it went from being damaged goods to what label do you want to sign with, you know, which one, and it was an amazing, you know, it was an amazing 30-day wait right there, not knowing what was going to happen. Then when it did, because nobody was allowed to contact us. As soon as that 31st day hit, we heard from everybody. It was amazing. It was day and night. Yeah.
So what made you go with the label that you ended up releasing Scars from?
You know, hindsight's always 20/20.
Yeah.
At the time, the first time we met J Records, they were really on the bottom of our list. They were a new label. They didn't have any. The label itself didn't have any history. But it was Clive Davis's label. And a lot of people think of Whitney Houston and that type of thing. You know, the R&B people, the artists that he's had a lot of success with, but they forget. And he's also goes back to, you know, Aerosmith and a lot of the old classics. And so it was actually then when we flew into New York. They flew us to New York. We met his team he had put together, and you had people like Chris Woltman that was at, you know, Columbia when Alice in Chains, you know, he worked radio for Alice in Chains back in the day, and he put together this team of people that were responsible for some of the bands that we loved growing up. So after actually getting to meet the soldiers there at the label, it became our number one choice, and eventually we ended up signing with them. I feel unreal every time I try to stop. I feel pick me up, my friend, let me start. That's what I remember.
Redefine. Yeah, she's looking after. Yeah, Redefine, and it came out in March 2004.
Right.
How soon after that did you make? Was it during the recording process you decided that you weren't certain about the future with you and the band?
I don't know where it started creeping in. There was always a piece of me that had a hard time, because I mean I had 2, you know, at that point in time I had 2 children at home. I was married and I was never at home. I mean, we toured like dogs. I mean, I think the first 13 months that we were out supporting the album Scars, we were home. If you took a day here and 2 days there, that we actually would force, you know, I'm flying home for a day. We were actually in our homes for I think a total of 2 weeks in that first 13 months of pushing the album Scars, and Redefine was the same. It ended up being the same way. So it was already just really taxing on me being a father and a husband. And, you know, I kind of opened the door on it earlier. You know, there was some personality problems before we ever got signed.
Yeah.
Within the band, so that lumped on into just the internal struggle I was having just being in the situation that I was, married with kids. It wasn't necessarily in the recording process, but you saw it coming. I mean, we were talking about it the other day, and I was like, you remember like the last few times, and even during the, I think we were in LA, we were shooting a video or something. They all stayed in one hotel room, and I had my own. I mean, there were signs. They were like, "You did, didn't you?" I was like, "Yeah." And you know, I think everybody was still just enjoying. Everybody else, there were certain ones that were still enjoying themselves at one today. I don't think they saw the division occurring, and but it was a process. And eventually, once I tried and I waited it out until the touring cycle was done for Redefine, and And then just a couple days after being home from the last tour that we did, I got everybody on the phone. I'm done.
So after you left, you took some time out, and then how long was it before you got in touch with the Drowning Pool guys? And
I was out for about 9 months before I heard from them, and it was funny. I had a job back home. I was helping a business partner, nowadays a business partner of mine. At the time, I was just kind of heard that I was coming off the road for good, and he thought I'd fit into this extreme sports park thing that he was doing. That also had a music venue inside and outside, indoors and out. He brought me on board, and I ended up falling into like just managing the entire place. It was paintball, auto racing, everything, and motocross, you name it. We had some aspect of it. It was like 500 and some acres. I was doing this at the time that I got the call from the Drowning Pool guys, and it was funny because they were just getting ready to leave on what ended up being their last run with Jason Jones, the guy that came in after Dave passed away. And they were like, do you think it's possible for a singer to learn 16 songs in 3 days? I was like, probably, but if you're talking about me, no. I don't even remember my own stuff. I'm learning somebody else's. And we laughed about it, and they went on and did that tour. But we kept talking, and I was, at the time, I was getting the bug. The music bug was biting me in the rear again, so they were some of my best friends in the business, having shared the road with them prior, during my time with SOiL.
Did lots of festivals and things like that.
Yeah, and did a run over here with Damage Plan, Drowning Pool, and SOiL.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of a no-brainer. If I was going to do it again, if I was going to get back in it, I knew those were the guys I wanted to do it with. So had a good 7 years with those guys. I think we did a lot of good music together, and we had a lot of good times.
Yeah.
I know you are the only one. A little taste of heaven, and you know I am the only one. You better take the hell. Your ice cream, the end is creeping in. I'll need 37 stitches to keep the pain in. And I know you are the only one on the darkest side of the sun.
Are you still good friends with them now and today? And
Yeah, we did a couple of different festivals with them this past summer there in the States. And at one of them, they invited me up, and I went up and did bodies with them at the end of their set, and tipped quite a few drinks back later in that night. Each time we meet, that seems to be the way. And we left things in a very good light.
That's good.
I think we were all just needing a bit of a change. And
So you coming back into the band and SOiL, was it because Scars was 10 years and there was talk about doing a 10-year sort of tour, or was
that was really it. Adam and I had talked for a while, like sporadically, like maybe we'd talk and about 5 months later maybe have another conversation or something about writing together again. And the end of the touring cycle was coming up for SOiL or for Drowning Pool, and Adam and Tim had gotten a hold of me and was like, we got an invite to go over and do a run in the UK for the 10th anniversary of Scars, and some of the promoters over there thought it would be a little bit better business even if we could maybe talk you into coming over and doing it with us. And it just fell perfectly right after the end of the Drowning Pool touring cycle, and so it was kind of, sure, sounds like fun. I hadn't done these songs in 8 years, and some of them even longer than that, so it was just sounded like something fun to do, and it got me back to the UK, so it was cool. We did that live CD over here in London, and that was our first time playing together in 8 years. We got together and we rehearsed about 2 weeks before that, and it was just, we rehearsed above a bar, so we just got really tanked, and I think we ended up maybe trying 3 songs or something like that. And so that live in London show was like the first time of the 3 of us really going through a lot of those songs together.
Oh, that's really good.
It was one of those things where after you're done, you're just kind of like, it's like that scene from Old School with Will Ferrell. That's how you debate. I don't remember any of it, but I think it was cool.
Frank the Tank.
Right.
How far can I go? Gotta be well, not me, make me. Gotta be what I say. Clear the 5 miles from me. How far will they go? Can't give what you want me, baby. Just let it go. Bring me down. Please, sugar. Bring me down. Bring me down to the ground. Pretty bird. Bring me down to the ground.
So obviously you've got connections to Scotland as well. Are you looking forward to going up? And I've heard, well, from what I read on the internet, that there's a Wigtown show in Scotland. Do you have descendancy? Do you have actual family in Scotland that you know of, or is it real far back?
Very far back. I know that on my mom's side of the family, I know that the family had a castle or something in Ireland because we had like a stone from it. My grandfather, when I was a kid, my grandfather came over and went there and saw it and brought some rubble back from it and pictures of what it looked like now and what it looked like back in the day and stuff like that in a big like picture box type thing.
It's probably being used in Game of Thrones or something now.
Right,
you know?
right. It's I hate that, you know, it's been probably since my first run with SOiL that I've been able to get over to Ireland. And I know the fans over there get a little irritated that we come over here so much and we don't get over there, but it's just, I can't explain it. It's the finances behind it. It's unreal to try to get over there. And I mean, if we had the offers that would make it possible, we'd definitely be over there. But yeah, looking forward to Scotland. That, and I was introduced to someone was telling me about haggis the other day, so I'm going to try to find me some haggis while I'm in Scotland because I'm weird that way.
Is it? Do you know the variations? Because obviously there's the traditional haggis, and then there's obviously the fast food version.
I have not heard about the fast food version. I want some old school. I want the real deal.
Just try both, because the fast food version is what they call a haggis supper, and they just basically take lumps of the haggis, mould it into a ball, put it in batter, and fry the shit out of it. Oh. And then you have that with chips or French fries. I will try both if I can. And in Scotland they don't do vinegar. They actually do a thing they call it salt and sauce. Okay. And they take, do you know brown sauce? I know it by hearing of it. They mix HP brown sauce and vinegar, so it's kind of like a thin version of the sauce, and they put that on your chips instead of vinegar. Okay. So I'll have to tell Adam about it. He'll know about it. If they can deep fry anything in Scotland, they will. They do, I think, pizza crunch. Take a wedge of perfectly good pizza and deep fry that. Huh. Mars bar, you name it. Sounds like a fair over in the States. Yeah, I think the ratio of heart attacks is slightly more up there. No idea why. So last year you were on tour with All That Remains and Motionless in White through sort of November and December, just before Christmas. Right. Was that that tour? How was it for you being on that part of America? You know, I think there's places there that you hadn't done. Yeah, it was. Yeah, we had a couple different options tour wise at that moment before we went out on that, before we chose that one, and a couple of the tours were kind of like the same things we would typically do. So, you know, there were bands that we paired up with before, and then we had the offer come in for All That Remains, and we knew they had in the States a different crowd than us. Yeah. And with the new album coming out, we knew that even though financially it was not the sound choice to make, and it made for a very tough Christmas for loved ones this year, but we knew business-wise it was risky, but it was a risk that we needed to take, and it ended up paying off big time. We made so many new fans, and it was funny. You know, I've been doing this professionally now for 16 years. The band is, you know, SOiL dates back 13, 14 years now, back to 97. Well, no, longer than that. I guess that would be the 16, 17 years, so just the SOiL thing. So to be, you know, sitting there signing CDs for some kids that are like, "Are you guys new?" Sure, yes. It was cool. It really brought us into a whole different fan base. So it was definitely worthwhile, and everybody in All That Remains were just awesome to hang out with, just super nice guys. And throughout the history that I've been doing this, that is the thing that always matters the most to me, is being on the road with people that you can have a laugh with and share a drink and have a good time with, and they were definitely a band like that. We had a lot of good nights with those fellas, and Lady. And Lady, of course, yeah. So the new album that came out last year, Whole, playing it live, have you got a favourite song that you like to play live from that record? No, not really. It's not as far as playing. I mean, I like to. The show is the show. You know, it's like a package. Yeah, it's that moment. It's that payoff. You know, you sit around the bus all day or in your dressing room all day, and you wait for that 45 minutes or an hour and a half, depending on whether you're in support or whether you're headlining.
to actually get on stage and be there with the people that allow you to do what you do. You know, the people that came to see you do your thing, and so that's the payoff. It's really, the whole show is just one big song to me. I definitely have my favorite tracks on the album. I mean, I'm partial like Loaded Gun, and I'm proud of the record really as a whole. I think at one point in time I'd have said that the self-titled Drowning Pool CD was probably some of my best stuff that I've had the opportunity to throw out there, but I think this album is probably my favorite from top to bottom. There isn't a song on this album that I go, man, I wish we hadn't done that.
Yeah.
And I think I can point at 2 or 3 songs on every CD I've ever done where I'm just like, how did that make it? Whereas I can't look at a song on this CD and have that feeling, so that's a good feeling to have when
Very good,
when it's out there.
I feel what you feel and you know what I know. The only way to make it right is to make it real. I feel what you feel and you know what I know. The only way to keep it right is to keep it real. We will not go away. We will not fade away. Through hell you're who I am. We will not go away. We will not fade away. Through hell you're who I
So a couple of years ago at the Download Festival, I was in the crowd watching you doing an acoustic set at the Jägermeister stage. That was
Appropriately on the Jägermeister stage,
Yeah,
as we were
yeah.
hammered.
Yeah, you looked like you'd had a good night the night before, I think.
Yeah, I think it carried right through.
Yeah.
I think whenever we started drinking, you know, we always have a few cocktails before we go on stage, and then it escalates after that. And I believe that in particular night, it didn't stop.
Yeah.
So I think we were like showing up to the acoustic show the next morning, still drinks in hand, still going at it. So it was fun. I like doing those acoustic things. I think we've only done it a few times, but I mean we like what we do. We like that opportunity to be there with everybody, and you know, I think whereas a lot of people take everything so seriously, we like to have a laugh.
Yeah.
You know, we like to. I get a kick out of watching a crowd laugh with me as much as I do watching them, you know,
Go crazy.
Go crazy. Yeah, it's all about making those little memories and stuff, and it's as much for me as it is for them. I mean, you know, when you're sitting there and something happens, just call it out, have fun with it, you know, and everybody takes that away. I take it away with me, and hopefully they do too. It's just those little special moments. That day was full of them.
That was a fun set, and a few of my friends were stood watching, and we were like, you know, damn, Brian's funny, he should do stand-up. Because you were coming out with some great one-liners and stuff, and yeah, no, that was a really fun set. Have you ever thought about recording anything for sort of the Unplugged to me? I know that with like Pledge Music, it's obviously very popular this day and age. Seven Dust at the moment have got a campaign to do an Unplugged record on the Pledge Music thing.
They're very good at it too. I love their
the first
stuff.
record they did was fantastic. But I mean, it would be great to have some SOiL unplugged, I think, on actual recordings. Have you ever thought about it in session, or is that something you consider doing in the future?
I don't know. There's always talk. We are the kings of talking about great ideas and never seeing them through.
Who isn't?
Right. It's we have a handful of our stuff that we've put over into acoustic forms. We do a lot of like in studio acoustic performances for radio stations backstage side, so we've got a handful of songs to choose from when we do such things. I mean, the material's there to do it, right? We have, I'm sure, I've heard or even said it myself that it's something we should do sometime, but whether we do it or not is another story. I don't know.
Watch this space. So there's a question I'm asking people when I interviewed them, is the scenario is you're stuck on a desert island, you've got a solar powered MP3 player, and on that MP3 player, you can only take 3 albums.
Holy cow.
What 3 records would you take out of the existence of time in music?
This is when I wish Nonpoint had a best of album. You know,
and DIY compilations don't count, it has to be a...
Damn. I'm going to sound like an idiot here because I am such a a friend and fan of the band, and I cannot remember the name of the new record, but Nonpoint's latest album I would definitely have to take with me. That is tough.
Yeah.
Probably the first Mumford & Sons CD. I mean, Babel is just as good, but the first one's definitely calmed me down many a nights on the road and allowed me to get a little shut-eye and rest and relaxation. So probably the first Mumford & Sons, the latest Nonpoint. You said 3?
3.
Polysonic Brew, Black Label Society.
Good choice.
It's got to be one of the worst sounding CDs.
But the songs are just killer.
Yeah, the material is amazing.
Yeah.
And then I would, when you weren't looking, I would probably stick Book of Shadows in my back.
Just for this.
Yes.
So today's the second day on the tour, the UK tour. So how was last night's first show?
It was fun. The crowd saved it because we had several things go wrong up on stage,
Yeah.
and the crowd saved it. Which we've been spoiled over here with the crowds that keep bringing us back. And but last night was just a great example of we're all old, you know. We've been doing this for a while to the point to where when we do a run, just like we just did that All That Remains tour that you mentioned, we parted ways after that, and we didn't see each other again until we were at the airport in Chicago flying over here.
Right.
So we don't sit and we don't do any rehearsals anymore, and so we're jaded. We don't want to do it unless there's a crowd there and we're having fun with it. We don't want to be sitting in a room looking at each other's ugly mugs. So it's last night was kind of sitting backstage, having a couple cocktails, getting ready for the show. I got my headphones on, trying to remember how the lyrics go to some of these new songs, and went out there on stage. Everything went well musically, but somewhere between us saying what our set list was and the set list being written down changed completely. So there was a point where I'm announcing a song that I knew was supposed to be third, but then Adam goes, "Look at your set list." As he walks by me, and I look down and realize I just introduced the wrong song because the guy forgot to put the right song third. And from there, that kind of knocked us off our game a little bit, but the crowd pulled us right back in. So it was a good time all in all. I think unless you knew the confusion that was going on at times on stage.
Yeah.
But it was fun. I mean, we're here. We're in the UK. I mean, you can't beat this crowd. You can't beat the fans here. And so we had a good time.
That's good. So the Skindred guys and you're on the road all the way through to the middle of February across Europe.
Right.
Do you think by the end of that tour you'll be doing the Newport helicopter, they call it?
The Newport helicopter.
I'm sure that's what they call it, where Benji tells everyone to take their tops off at a particular point of the song. He'll spin it around. So
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Oh, you have to check it out.
We haven't shared the road with Skindred since the first full tour that we did here in the UK, I think back in 2002. We were laughing about that last night, or the night before. I think it was the night before when we first flew in and we first hooked up with the Skindred guys. We were laughing that at that time, back in 2002, Skindred was opening. We were direct support, and Edema was headlining.
Oh yeah.
And it was titled the head-to-head, us and Edema kind of a head-to-head tour, but for all, in all reality, Edema was closing every night, and we were direct support, and Skindred was opening. We were laughing about the fact that if we could have gotten Edema to reform and come over with us, that it probably would have been the exact opposite. Yeah, it would have been Edema, us, and then Skindred. It would have been a complete flop from back in 2002. But it's good to be back out on the road with these guys. We've been friends and have kept in contact. Whenever they're over, we catch them, and whenever we're over here, they come out and support us. And so it's fun to be out on the road with them again. And I was cursing Benji the first night over here. I was just like, I've got that Make Your Mark off of the Union Black album. I've had that stuck in my head now for like a week, and so I was just cursing him for that whole present, that gift. And he didn't come out in the States, so we were actually over here with the Puddle of Mud tour when I stopped in some head shop, and I heard the CD over the PA at the head shop, and I went up to the lady and I was like, "This is Skindred, right?" She was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I don't recognize these songs." What? She said it was a new out in Union Black, and we didn't get it in the States, so I had to, as soon as I got home, I had to search for some store to buy it from and have it shipped over. So
yeah,
I'm one of the rare lucky people back in the States that knows what gem of an album that thing is.
It's a shame how the international waters, don't sometimes? I mean, I'm sure there's countless albums that come out in the States that as Europeans never get to see before here.
Right.
I think it's just the nature of how it is. So after this tour, you said you're going back home for a few days?
Yeah, I think we're home for... I think we fly in... I think we get home on the evening of the 14th of February or something like that, and then we fly out like 2 or 3 days later for Australia. So I think that flight's something like... I know the flight home from Australia is like 30 some hours. We have 2 layovers, but each layover is in like an hour and a half. So it's really close to being like 30 hours in the air. And so as soon as we recover from the jet lag from coming over to the UK, soon, we'll, here in probably about another week, we'll start feeling right, and we'll have about a good week or 2 over here feeling right, and then it'll be time to go home and then go to Australia and get all screwed up again. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting.
And that's just a short stint in Australia.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It seems like it's getting shorter and shorter every time I hear about it, but we don't have the dates yet as far as like the off festival days go. They want to announce it they want to announce it before they let us know what they are. So we're not sure what dates we're doing or what cities or venues we're playing in between the festivals yet. Hopefully we'll know that soon and be able to announce that as well. I'm looking forward to it. I've never been there before. The SOiL guys went over while I was with Drowning Pool, so this will be my first time in Australia. So other than the heat and the beautiful sunshine, I'm really looking forward to it, as I hate the heat and the sunshine.
And after Australia, what's planned for the rest of the year for SOiL?
We're already booking up a run back in the States when we get back from probably starting, I think it's starting in late March, because we get back early March from Australia. And I think they're already starting to book a run to get us to some of the festivals that we've already been confirmed for in the States. And then right now, tentatively, there's talk about, as soon as we get done with a couple of those little runs in the States, is then coming back over here to hopefully do some festivals in this neck of the woods, and hopefully that'll happen. I keep hearing, I just saw Dan, our booking agent, inside just now. I haven't seen him. I was hoping to speak with him tonight on exactly what's going on with that. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be back over here and for festival time. Hopefully we'll get some invites on that stuff if we haven't already, and be able to confirm some of that stuff.
That'd be good. Well, we always welcome you back. I mean, it's great to have SOiL back in the UK again. And
we love it, obviously.
Just want to say thanks very much for speaking with us.
Thanks for your time.
Cheers, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You know me, I get all chatty Cathy and shit.